Hi book friends, welcome back to my channel. Let's talk books with Shannon. I'm Shannon. This video is going to be my October wrap up. In the beginning of the month, on my October TBR, we had 9 books. I read 7 of those 9 books, plus I read 4 more in addition. So I read 11 books total. I read 7 romances, 2 general fiction, and 2 mystery thrillers. So let's go ahead and get started. I read Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was the last book in the Natural series. The Natural series, if you're not familiar with it, has been referred to as Criminal Minds for teenagers. It's a group of teenagers that come together and the FBI brings them together. They're all geniuses and they work on cold cases, and it ends up to be current cases as well. One of the main characters, Cassie, throughout all the books is trying to figure out who murdered her mother. In this last book, she finds out that her mother is alive and the people holding her captive are more powerful and more dangerous than anyone they've come up against yet. And they end up uncovering a lot of secrets of the group that's been killing for generations. And they have a new member of the team in this one, Celeste, and she is able to look at skulls and kind of put a face to them. So she was a new, interesting addition to the group. I gave this one 4 stars. I loved it, as I've loved all of them. The found family in these books is wonderful, and Sloane is still my favorite. And the plot twist in the end of this one was great. So I do recommend the whole series. This is a series, though, you need to start at the beginning, the first one being The Naturals. The next book that I read was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And in this story, it has a little bit of magic. You sit in a particular seat in this cafe and you can travel to the past. There are rules. You travel to the past once they pour your hot coffee, and you have to drink the coffee in the past before it gets cold. And if you don't, you'll turn into a ghost. Other rules are that you have to stay in the seat that you're in the cafe, and you can only see people that come into the cafe. So it's a charming, delightful book about human relationships and missed opportunities, and I really liked it. It's actually like 4 standalones within the book. They're interconnected. They have some of the same characters in all of them, but 4 different people travel to the past, and they're actually 4 separate stories. So I really loved the first 2. The second 2 were a little slower, but still enjoyable. And I gave this book 3.5 stars. And it was really a fun fall book to read with the coffee aspect and the magic aspect. I really thought it was fall-like. A couple of the quotes that I liked from this book were, the kindness in his smile was infinite. I also liked, no matter what difficulties people face, they will always have strength to overcome them. It just takes heart. And then a good one to think about is, if you could go back, who would you want to meet? The next book that I read was The Lake by Natasha Preston. This was one of my thrillers for October, kind of giving me a spooky vibe. This one follows 2 teenagers, Esme and Kayla, who become counselors at a summer camp. Now, they previously were at this summer camp when they were kids, like when they were 8, and they had some sort of secret or something that happened that they've never spoke to anyone else about. So when they get to the camp, they're getting to know the kids, and all of a sudden, some weird things start happening. They get a message that says the lake never forgets. Someone graffitis the counselor's cabin. Just some really eerie, spooky things start to happen. And so their secret starts to surface, and we find out what happened when they were kids. I like this plot. I thought it was interesting. The middle got a little slow, and then it really picked up to the end, and bam, we had a shocking ending. I was on Book Talk, and a lot of people panned this ending. I liked it. I like an ending that shocks you. And in thrillers, I feel like it can go so many different directions, and you're not going to always like the way a thriller ends because it can go so many different directions. It's not always going to wrap up the way you want it. And I like it. If it shocks me, I like it. So I thought the ending was really good on this. I ended up giving this book 3.25 stars. It was a fun read for October, and I could recommend it to many who like thrillers. The next book that I read was Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. Love the Chestnut Springs series, love the Gold Rush Ranch series. I'm a big Elsie Silver fan. This one follows Ford, who is a character from Chestnut Springs. He is actually Willa's brother. And he's a billionaire, and he has a recording studio, or is starting a recording studio. And he has a young girl who's about 12 who shows up and claims that he is her father. He also has Rosie, who is his best friend's sister, who goes to work for him. And of course, he ends up crushing on her. And of course, there's a hands-off rule there because it's his best friend's sister. A lot of different tropes in this one. We have frenemies to lovers. We have single dad. We have opposites attract, best friend's sister, small town, billionaire. Lots of fun tropes. This one had great banter. I absolutely adored Ford and his relationship with his daughter. His daughter's name was, Cora. And she was bold and insightful, and I loved her in this. The more and more I read single dad tropes, I'm liking them a lot more. So anyway, loved him. Rosie, I liked. I had some issues with her. She's very chaotic and very messy, and I had a couple annoying things about Rosie, but overall, I did like her. My issue with this one, and again, I gave this book 4 stars, so I did love it. I love Elsie Silver's writing, but I always expect almost over 4 stars from her because I love her writing so much. This one, I had trouble with the third act conflict. It really felt forced to me. I was just like, this shouldn't even be happening. This shouldn't even be a consideration. It was just like it was thrown in just to have a third act conflict. So I didn't like that aspect of it. Still got 4 stars, still a great book. And I'm still looking forward to the next one, which is Wes's story, who is the best friend. A couple of quotes. Hear this, Rosie. You are worth every penny, every fortune, every investment, every risk. You are priceless to me. He wore the key to my diary for 10 years. The next book I read was The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling, and this was just a breezy, magic-filled romance. Very light, very fluffy, very fun, full of witches and hexes and curses, and wonderful for the month of Halloween. This one we follow Reese and Vivian, who early on hit it off, had a great relationship, a great start. He says he has to go back to Wales to end his betrothal that his dad has set up for him. So Vivian loses her mind because she doesn't realize that he is betrothed to someone else. And he leaves town and she puts a hex on him. She and her cousin, Gwen. They put a hex on him, which they did it in a drunken stupor and really didn't think much of it, thought it was harmless. And fast forward 9 years later, he comes back to the town because his family has founded this town, and his family is the reason it has magic in it. And he comes back for the fair, and he has to recharge the lines, which is how the magic happens in this town. But when he comes back to town, the hex starts taking effect the minute he comes to town. So all these calamities start happening to him. And then once he charges the lines, they're kind of released into the town. So this curse is released into the town. So Vivian and Reese have to work together to make the changes needed and to end the hex or the curse. It was very fun. Loved Reese in this. I thought he was hilarious. I loved his sarcasm. Loved the found family. There's a found family trope in this one. And this one is like second chance romance and found family are the two main tropes in this one. And the found family is Gwen and Elaine, who are her cousin and her aunt. And they were delightful characters as well. Couple quotes I loved from this one. The very first sentence in the book: never mix vodka and witchcraft. I thought that was hilarious. Another quote I liked was, the best cure for anything was candles and a bath. Who could argue with that? Very fun. I gave this one 4 stars. The next book that I read connected to the Ex-Hex was The Kiss Curse, also by Erin Sterling. These are interconnected standalones. This one follows Gwen, who is Vivian's cousin from the Ex-Hex, and it also follows Wells, who is Reese's older brother from the Ex-Hex. In this one, we have enemies to lovers and also small town trope. We have Gwen, who has her own witchcraft store in the small town. Wells comes to town to reestablish the family name, and he opens up a witchcraft store across the way from Gwen's. So they have a rivalry. and that at one point they end up in a passionate kiss, which they blame on some magic powder that wasn't magic at all. But they are determined to stay away from each other. And then Gwen starts to lose some of her powers, and there's a witch coven that has come to town, and they end up working together to figure that out and to get Gwen her powers back. So Wells is just a grumpy, old-fashioned, traditional old witch, and he just grew on me very unexpectedly. So anyway, I just thought both of these books were a great way to bring in the Halloween spirit. And I gave this book 4 stars, same as the X-Hex, and I can recommend them to you also during this Halloween season. The next book that I read was The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. This was my first Lana Ferguson book, and it will not be my last. I really enjoyed this sports romance. The tropes in it are friends to lovers, best friend's sister, fake dating. We follow Delilah and Ian. Delilah has her own cooking show that has failing ratings right now, and Ian is a hockey player. And Ian is best friends with Delilah's older brother, Jack. And Ian had gone away to Canada to play hockey, and years later comes back to his hometown to finish his career, and he sees that Lila has grown up, and of course he can't believe what he sees. So he had a very public breakup, and so the publicists and the managers decide that to improve the ratings of her show and to improve his public image, that he should come onto the show, the cooking show. And when he does, of course, sparks fly, and the audience believes that they must be dating. So the publicists and the managers then say that maybe they could fake date and improve both strengthen both the ratings of the show and improve his public image. So they do fake date. And of course, they end up falling head over heels for one another. And then, of course, they have to tell Jack, the brother of Delilah, and Jack is hilarious. And this book was just a page turner and loads of fun, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I believe this was a debut novel for her, and it was wonderful. I gave this book 4 stars. We follow 3 characters in this book. We have Marcellus, who is the octopus in the aquarium, and he is delightful, and he is my favorite, and he is oh so smart. We have Tova, who is 70 years old and has lost her husband to cancer. She works at night in the aquarium, mopping the floors, cleaning the exhibits. She's also lost her son 30 years prior in a boating accident. Some think that that was suicide. She does not believe that is the case. She ends up hurting herself and having to take some time off work. Enter Cameron, who is a young man whose mom abandoned him at the age of 9 and who grew up living with his aunt. And he has come to town to look for his dad. He goes to work at the aquarium, taking over for Tova when she is injured. And then Tova comes back once she has improved some, and they work together at the aquarium at nights. And then you have like Marcellus, who's playing tricks every night and sneaking out to get food. And he gets to know both Tova and Cameron and decides he wants to help them. And he wants to help Tova find out what happened to her son and help Cameron find his family. So it's a delightful story of family and connections. And I did love this book, and I'm going to give you some quotes, all from Marcellus, because I loved him. One of the quotes that the octopus says is, "Humans, for the most part, you are dull and blundering, but occasionally you can be remarkably bright creatures." He also says, "Why can humans not use their millions of words to simply tell one another what they desire?" And he says, "But I do not like the hole in her heart. She only has 1, not 3, like me." Great book, and I recommend this one, 4 stars. Okay, we have another library book, Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I needed to read this one in October because there's a waiting list for this one, and I couldn't renew it. This one has many tropes. We have a cowboy romance, small town trope, best friend's sister trope, found family trope. She has ADHD, so there's that trope in here. Lots of fun. This one follows Clementine, or Emmy, who barrel races, and she has had an injury and has trouble getting back on the horse. She's having some panic attacks and can't get back on the horse. She keeps that a secret from her family. She just comes back home to stay with her family for a bit. And Luke Brooks, who has been a part of the family, not biologically, but taken in by the family since he was a kid, and he now works for the family. And he, of course, when he sees Emmy, starts to crush on her, and he sees her struggle with the horses, and he volunteers to help her. So their relationship goes from there. I love the way ADHD was handled in this book. This one was also a debut novel for Lila Sage, and it was wonderful. I gave this one 4 stars. Quotes: Emmy wasn't just pretty, she was extraordinary. It was hard to breathe, not because I was panicking. It was because this man had literally taken my breath away. One more. You know, if you don't like the road you're on, you can always pave a new one. Love this book. 4 stars. 3 cheers for no third act breakup. Thank you very much. I loved that. It is a spicy one, so know that. I always like to let people know that because some people don't like spice. Okay, the next book I read was The Match by Sarah Adams. Now, this one is a closed-door romance, so if you don't like spice, then this one might be for you. I love this book. I have loved Sarah Adams' books so far. I'm going to continue to read her backlist. This one is called The Match, and it follows Evie, who has epilepsy. The epilepsy was handled beautifully in this. And she also has a service dog named Charlie, who plays a big part. And I absolutely love Charlie. She also works for a company who places service dogs with people who have disabilities. She goes to meet a potential client, Jacob, whose daughter has epilepsy. And Jacob, the father, does not know that his daughter arranged the meeting. So when they meet at a coffee shop, he's thoroughly confused. And when he finally realizes that his daughter set this up, then he is absolutely against it. And he's a bit of a jerk to her, to Evie. And but after going home and thinking about it and seeing how unhappy his daughter is and how unhappy she's been, he decides that maybe this could be the thing that would help her immensely. So he calls Evie up and they meet again, and they start to go through training together to get the daughter, whose name is Sam, used to the new dog, whose name is Daisy. So she's over at their house every day, training both Sam and Daisy and Jacob, and their relationship takes off from there. I've got some quotes for you on this one. This book is for all the 4-legged superheroes of the world, saving lives, giving love and independence to those who need it. Another quote from the book: her smile lights up her whole face in a way that looks like she might explode from joy. And the last quote from this one: you can't control other people, but you can control who you surround yourself with. All good quotes. Delightful book. I gave this one actually 4.5 stars. I loved it. So, highly recommend. I changed the angle a little bit just to get a little better lighting because it's getting dark outside. But anyway, the last book that I'm going to review probably will not be a real popular opinion. So this is a good time to remind you that we're friends. Don't come at me. I read Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver, and I know this is a beloved book by many, and I totally understand why. If you like horror and you like romance, then I can highly recommend this book to you. I just don't happen to like horror, and I did not know that going into this book. I was thinking dark romance comedy kind of book. So we follow 2 serial killers, Rowan and Sloane, who kill serial killers. And they end up falling for each other. The meet cute is adorable. I love the banter between the 2 of them. I love both characters. I thought they were delightful. It just had too much horror in it for me. The gouging out eyeballs, the cannibalism, it's just not my deal. And had I known that before going into this, then I probably wouldn't have picked it up. Again, the writing was great. I can highly recommend it to people who like horror and like romance. This book will be for you. I gave it 2.5 stars and will not be reading the next one in the series. but I know a lot of you like it, and I'm happy for you for that. So anyway, that wraps up our October reviews. My November TBR will be coming out in just a couple of days. So please hit subscribe. Please hit like. Leave me comments. Love you guys. Please take care of each other. Happy reading. Peace.